Hi, today I'm going to do a door hanger. It's going to have some stain, some paint, and some stencils. So let me turn you down and we'll get started. This board is an 18-inch round that I ordered online from Craft Deals. The first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to measure it, tape it off in about 6-inch sections. So I've got my probe tape, if I can get started using it. Down to about 6 inches. Well, now it's sticking to that. Let me try a different route. I'm going to measure off the 6 inches and mark it with a pencil just lightly to keep it straight. So this is 6 inches down. This is another 6 inches down, which should mean that I would have, yep, 6 inches from there. Okay, measure this off. I'm going to stain this center section, so I'm going to do that first. So I'm going to put my tape on the other side of these lines so that my center section is left at 6 inches. And I can get my stain on there. I didn't tear it quite big enough. I really want it to go over the edges because I'm going to carry my paint and my stain over the edges. There's that side. And now this side. Same thing down below the line. Try to tear a bigger piece this time. So below the line. And hopefully I've got this pretty straight. I think I do. All right, I need to grab a stain pad. I meant to do that before I turned the camera on, but I forgot to, of course. Grab a stain pad. I could use a sponge, but I've got these stain pads, so I'm going to use that. Put on my gloves to keep from getting my hands stained because I'm using Espresso by General Finishes, which is a very dark color. And this is the stain. Like I said, it's Espresso, General Finishes. I love it. Get this opened up. And I use the jumbo popsicle sticks from Walmart to stir my paints and stains. Actually, I keep most of my paints and stains in condiment bottles, but I ran out, so I've got some more ordered, so this one's still in the can. Stir it up good from the bottom. I think I've got that. I think I'm going going to take my mister and just very lightly mist the board so that the stain goes on a little more smoothly. You see what I mean about dark? These boards, like I said, are from craftdeals.com. They're fairly inexpensive. And they are, you might have to sand them a little when you get them, but not too bad. I'm going to do my edges in that taped off area. Because I want what's on the front to carry over to the side so that when it's hanging on somebody's door, it doesn't have the raw sides showing. All right, that's our stain section. Now I keep my stain pads in a sandwich bag so that they don't dry out, and I use them over and over again as long as I'm using the same color of stain, which I'll make myself a label for that one after a while. Set that aside before I spill it. All right, I'm done with my gloves. I'm going to take this tape off. Looking good so far. Well, not right there. I need to touch that up. I didn't get my tape right on the line, obviously, right there. So I'm going to lay it back down. Grab my stain pad, and hopefully without getting stain all over me. Make that so it's more even. Let's see what we got. Yep, that's better. I still see a wee little spot where it's not perfect, so I'm going to take a fine tipped brush, a thin brush, and dip it in my stain. Just on the lid. And touch that up by hand. Okay, now we're pretty good. I'm going to take my heat gun and quickly dry that. Okay, I'm going to take my Sensitive brand frog tape, and I've got some more laying over here because it won't peel my stain back off of there. And I didn't tear that big enough again, but I'm gonna stand so I can see over this what I'm doing. Hopefully get it down there correctly. Pretty close, but not exact. I think that's better. Smooth that down nice and tight. Over the side. So much for that roll. It's gone. This one started. here. Now I can sit back down for right now. I'm going to get my paintbrush I want to use. And I am going to use Fusion Mineral Paint in Little Lamb. It's a nice soft gray color. Paint that on. Okay, I'm going to get those top edges before I do this bottom section. I'm going to have to stand for that. The edges where it were cut are a little harder to cover with the paint, but I think that's good enough. And let's get the bottom section. Now get this edge. I apologize, I know you can't see this. Try to turn it where we can both see what I'm doing. And I'm making a mess on the back, but I will, when this is all dry, turn it over and put a coat of paint on the back to make it look prettier. And to make it last longer. Although I'm using Fusion Mineral Paint, you could use any water-based or acrylic paint of your choice. Chalk paint. Okay, I'm done with that brush. I'm going to put that in some water. I'm going to quickly dry this, which is pretty thin coat. It's not going to take long to get it dry. That should be good. I see I've got a couple of places where I splattered paint onto my stain. Just try to knock that off of there real quick. I think a disinfecting wipe would do the trick better. And then I will fix that with my stain pad that's still out. Okay, good as new. Now, let me get that closed back up so it doesn't dry out. Here we go. I am going to use some Fusion Mineral Paint and Raw Silk. And I just want this to be the background, so I'm going to make it kind of light. But I am going to stencil this pattern onto the gray sections. And to do that, I'm going to load my brush and work it up into the bristles. And then I'm going to offload some more onto a shop towel. You could use a paper towel, whatever. Shop towels are just my preference. And you want your brush to be nice and dry, no glistening paint on there. That's how you keep from having bleed. And I'm just going to do a light circular motion. You could tape this so that it wouldn't move, and I probably should have did that, but I didn't. As I go along, I press down on the brush harder as the paint is used up that's in it. And now I need to load my brush a little again. And I left my tape on there so that I wouldn't get any of this pattern down into my stained area where I don't want it. Now I need to move it up just slightly. Maybe a little more than slightly, because I'm gonna bend it and go over the edge. Might be hard for you to see this. And admittedly, it's kind of hard to do it with this pattern. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it to kind of look like the pattern continued over the edge. And I need to carry this on over here on this side where it wasn't long enough. again, I'm going to take this and lay it on here. And try to get some of my pattern on the edge. It's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to match up perfect. That'll give it a more cohesive look. And same thing over on this side. Now, we can remove this top piece of tape and see what we've got. Get a hold of it. And I need to tape it off and put a little more stain along there. So I'll do this. Get that down good. My stain pad back out. Okay, well, that's all good. I might as well leave that laying out for the bottom part. Now that looks good. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the bottom half. Load the raw silk back into my brush. And this is an Essential Stencil brush. This is size 5/8. You can get them on essentialstencil.com. And if you use my discount code, Sharon Shed, you'll save 10%. This stencil that I'm using right now is from the Stencil of the Month Club. So that is a members only thing. That was recent, March 2022 was what the month that was for, if you are in the club and you want that. A little more paint in my brush. Okay, I'm going to lay this on its side and move this over the edge. over the bottom. I know you can't see what I'm doing, and I apologize. Okay. Now we'll finish up this edge. Turn this up. Okay. Let's see what we got when I take the tape off here. Oh, I did a better job of lining that up. That looks fine. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this stencil set. It is called Large Hello Spring Tags. And I'm going to put the word hello here. Eyeball it as far as centering it. Maybe I better measure it a little anyway. Okay, that's pretty close. Just a wee bit that way. Okay, I mean, I'm not a perfectionist. I don't care if it's exact. I just don't want it to be obviously really far off. Okay, now I don't want to stencil these butterflies, so I'm going to put tape over those so that the ones that are closest anyway to the hello, so that I don't accidentally stencil those. I think that should get it. And I'm gonna use raw silk again. I believe one coat's gonna do this, but let's take a look. Yeah, I think that looks good. I should have turned that so that you could see it all along. Now, what I'm thinking I may do is take another sponge and I'm debating. Actually, I think I was gonna put some antiquing glaze. Yeah, maybe I better. I don't want that to look like that. All right, I'm gonna get my antiquing glaze, Valspar antiquing glaze. Going to dry this just a little bit. Okay, got this sponge laying here, and I'm going to use the side of it where it hasn't been used before. Going to mist my board just a wee bit. And I think that kind of softens it. I'm also going to take a little bit of Fusion Mineral Paint Ash on my plate. And I'm going to get a little bit of that on my sponge. And then I'm going to offload some of it onto a shop towel, because I really just want a dry brush effect. See what we get. And I'm just going to frame out the edges. Kind of brings your eye into the center of the board. When you do that, it softens things. I hope you like that. From here, I'm probably going to drill a couple of holes here at the top and then put jute through it to hang it. First, I've got to let it dry a few hours, and then I will put a couple coats of General Finishes High Performance Top Coat in satin on it. And then when that's dry, then I will put a nice bow here at the top. I was thinking out of some burlap and maybe, I don't know, maybe some black buffalo check. We'll see what looks good. But from here, you could do whatever you want, however you like it, to finish it out. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.